You're welcome to PERICLEZ, your favorite personal development and self-help platform where we get to talk about books and all of the beautiful things we can derive from them to help us become the very best versions of ourselves. My name is Inyang, Inyang, and I'm your host on this show. The most constant thing in life is change, but not everyone is as willing to embrace change. We just love the status quo. We just hate to experiment on any form of change. This is the subject of a book we're reviewing today. Our Iceberg is Melting by John Kotter, where he tries to help us understand how to lead change in our lives and in our organizations. I have with me here a distinguished Toastmaster, a business consultant, and a Hubert Humphrey Fellow, Titi Ojo, here in the studio. Nice to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful that you could make it. I know you're a very busy person, but behold, you're here in the studio.
I'm excited about it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Now, our Iceberg is Melting. Such a strange title. You want to talk about what the author is trying to point out here? Or should we just go straight first? Should we talk about the nature of this book?
Maybe we should start with the nature of the book.
The nature of the book,
Yes.
right? That's okay. Let's hear you.
Yeah, usually people see the topic, the title of the book, Our Iceberg is Melting, and you wonder, okay, what's this? Then you look at the book itself closely. You have penguins. The picture.
Yes.
There are photos and pictures of penguins on the cover of it. So definitely you have in mind, okay, this must be something about some penguins probably.
Yeah.
Living in, of course, in this case, they were living in the Antarctic. And they'd been living on some iceberg for years. Yeah. So they've been used to that, staying there. And the beautiful thing also is that the characters in the book are those penguins. They're not humans. Yeah. The penguins, they were given names.
Human names?
Yes, human names. Like there's Fred, there's Alice, there's Louis, there's Buddy, there's Jordan, there's RV, I think. Yeah. So they all have their names. And everyone had a character they brought to this story. Okay. It talked about leadership. Now, the whole concept behind the story is this. So there's this colony of penguins that lived in the Antarctic. I think if you look at the story is there, but they've lived in this place for so long. And there's this guy called Fred. Fred is always the observant penguin. In fact, if you look at the pictures in the book, because he has a lot of pictures, he stays aloof the rest. So when everybody's here, you see Fred, he's just standing at somewhere then he's looking into the horizon and writing. He has a suitcase full of all sort of observations and data.
Just a real time.
I tell you, even some people in the colony feels he has a personal problem. Maybe he's not a happy guy. Okay. In fact, they've been like, but his wife seems to be happy. He seems to be a happy man. Because for him to be so focused on checking what's going on the iceberg, crying out loud, get a social life. But that's who he is. And of course, he'd been taking data, he'd been recording certain things over a period of time. And he got to that point where he felt, man, I think our iceberg is melting. And if this iceberg should melt, there'll be no more home for us. Wow. And he had to raise an alarm. And of course, it's gone down. There's some caves that have been born into the iceberg itself. So it's moved around a bit. Okay. So he knows what he was talking about. Okay. So he got to a point where he felt, yeah, this is the time. I need to raise an alarm because I can see something is going to happen.
Yeah, that's where
and that was where it all started from. He started with Fred. Like, raised the alarm that, iceberg is melting.
Interesting. But how does someone decide to write such an important subject in a manner like this? I mean, he used a fable to talk about something as serious as change, leadership. I mean, how does that? I mean, I just couldn't think about it.
I think what I learned from that is sometimes this kind of stories, this kind of messages should be as simple as possible, so that we would understand it. Okay. I work in some sectors, of course, international development and some other areas, and I realized that sometimes policies of organizations and books are written in complicated language. Yeah. And you're wondering why the staff still don't understand what's going on here. It's because somebody needs to simplify it.
Exactly.
So he's trying to put it in such a way that even the kindergarten person, a student in primary school will watch either the video or read the book.
That means beyond the understanding, is the pleasure of learning. Yes. It's actually interesting.
Interesting. And then you're like, okay, this is change actually. And it's coming to me so simply, so in such a fun way.
Yeah.
I also realized that people like to learn in a fun environment.
Okay.
Yes. So these days, I can see a lot of comics are coming up to interpret even very complex messaging. I'm like, who thought about that?
Are there books like that? Are there other books like this you've read?
So there's the book, this book titled Fish. And in fact, Fish has been developed into several trainings. The Fish philosophy, as in you pay dearly to attend those trainings.
Okay, let's focus on
so
that.
Fish is another one. You want to grab Fish.
All right.
I read it on my flight to Lagos and I finished it. It's that simple.
Okay, now that's another interesting thing about this book. It's just a 45 minutes
Yes, 45 minutes read.
It's a 45 minutes read. And it comes so strange, a penguin on the front page. I mean, it could just pass for a storybook and you just, well, for a serious-minded person, perhaps. I mean, people that think they're serious, some of us that think we're serious-minded, we just, oh no, this is just a storybook.
Oh dear.
I don't want to, and I'll be missing a lot.
The lessons I've taken from...
So he's brought in the issue of leadership, change, global warming, all in one. In one book.
And you know, just raising an alarm to say our iceberg is melting and our future is not secured here. And trying to disrupt, you know, these days, we also talk about disruptive technology.
Yeah.
That's what is even happening right now, where things are happening the way we never even envisaged them 50 years ago. It's just the same thing I've seen in this book.
So the major subject of this book itself is change.
Change, yes.
It's actually change. And we love things the way they are. What exactly was John Kotter trying to point out in this book? You want to take
so let me take you through that. From when Fred raised the alarm that the iceberg is melting. One thing I think is trying to direct our focus on is that it may just be one member of your organization. It could just be a member of staff that's seen something that everybody is not seeing. And he's trying to tell us, you know what, the trend is changing, guys, when you start thinking differently. So Fred looks like that kind of person. That's been more of the observant one and has been checking out what has been happening within a period of time. And of course, armed with the evidence, he was able to cry to say, this is happening. Now, what Fred was able to do first of all, was to take the courage to raise this alarm. Oh yeah, he needed that courage.
Oh wow.
Because someone in the past, the book records either Allward or Harvey, that's his name, also mentioned the same thing a month or several months thereabout, but sometime in the past. And no matter how hard the guy tried to sound this alarm, nobody seemed to care.
So this actually bringing to the fore the importance of communication.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Knowing exactly how to communicate.
I think Awadi just didn't know how to put it down.
That's the first guy.
But Fred had evidence, which makes the difference. He had evidence. And so first thing he thought about, who can I speak to in this colony that would take on this thing the way I want it to be taken on, that will listen. Someone that's rational enough to understand my point of view. And he identified someone called Alice. Alice is in the council of the colony. They have a leadership council. She's one of the 10. And immediately she spoke to Alice. Alice took a step. And the next thing Alice told him is, can you take me to see these things you're talking about? I need the evidence. So, you know, most of the time when we put cases forward, we don't back it with evidence. And that's why people don't believe us or take us seriously. So I think that one also got to me very seriously. He was able to take Alice to some certain places. And Alice realized, wow, true, this iceberg is actually melting. The next thing Alice did was to escalate it to the leader of the colony and I think one or two others. And the rest said, this is the issue. Fred here just discussed something with me. I've gone to verify and I can see that it's verifiable. So this is it. We are actually facing an impending danger if we don't do something about it. And of course, there are the no-nos, the naysayers. There's a no-no in the colony.
So these are just the kind of people we may have in an organization that may just not be disposed to embracing the change that you need so badly for your business to be what it's supposed to be. Or your office
you got that right. So no was the first person to say, come on, all this things we've been talking about since what... He just shut the poor guy down. But Alice is a very strong leader, really. Alice would not take that. So every time No says this, she comes around it someone and says, guys, it's not about this. This is evidence. So Fred felt that, okay, if this is not convincing enough to this group of people, I think I need to take it a notch higher again so that they can really know the urgency of this need. And, you know, he put up an experiment again. And this time around, the experiment proved to them that indeed is a time bomb that is about to happen. So sometimes it takes a bit of extra convincing, really, as well, to convince the executive, the board. And sometimes, like, if someone like Fred was just an ordinary penguin in the colony, really. He wasn't in the leadership or anything, but he was able to make an observation that will affect the entire colony.
As in, it was not in the core of leadership.
Yeah, it wasn't even in the core. In fact, there was a point when Louis, that was the head of the entire leadership, when he created his 5-man team that would lead this change that was about to happen, he had Fred in there. And in the book, Fred was thinking, how come Louis will put me here? I'm not even close to leadership in this place.
Wow.
He was surprised, and he was a bit, I hope I can do something, you know. But Louis saw him that, yeah, it started with you, and it's good that you're part of this team. Yeah. So to tell you how ordinary Fred was. But you see, ordinary people in the organization may just be those that will raise the alarm when we are not even noting it at all. And then the next experiment that Fred performed that made them see that really sometime this iceberg is going to shatter and that will be the end of it. And that was when they saw the urgency ultimately. Like, okay, it's actually more urgent than we thought.
Oh, wow.
With that experiment, there was one guy called, his name is Jordan, but they call him Professor. He's the one that always overanalyzes things. And you know the analysis paralysis. I tell you, analysis paralysis. Yeah. Jesus, that guy. But you know when the bottle experiment happened, okay, he understood it that this is not about analyzing. Okay, so now this is it. Under the iceberg, there's been caves, more like caves born under the iceberg itself. That's not visible to everyone. They're just standing on it. Okay. They're not going under. Okay. So it is rational when he was talking to Alice. Sometimes when this thing continues to melt because of fall in temperature, the water begins to seep under the iceberg, of course, and begins to fill the cave. Okay. And if water fills up all this space, the winter is about to happen in another few days. I think in the book is about maybe 20 or between 20 and 40 more days. If water has seeped into all this iceberg, and then winter happens and the water freezes, the ice would expand and will break the iceberg. So that, of course, we know this is physics. We put ice into a bottle and then you see the bottle expand. Sometimes I put it in a cup. The cup just breaks. So that's the experiment. And he says, you know what, I'm going to he brought a bottle. Let's put water in this thing. Leave it for 24 hours. We'll come back here tomorrow. If this glass breaks, then know that this iceberg is going to shatter into a million pieces very soon. If not, well, I back off. For some of you that don't want to believe me, lo and behold, they came the next day and the bottle was shattered. So that created a sense of urgency.
So other characters on this book, you want to talk about them as well? So that we just keep flowing.
Yeah, so there's Louis, that's the head of the colony, the leadership council. And I think the kind of person he is an elderly person. So people like him, and elders are known for wisdom. So usually, even if he's not really on your side, but you can push a bit, he would listen to you. I like that guy. Alice, I mentioned several times. Alice is the go-getter. Yeah. Before you even land, she has started running. That's one thing about Alice. Then there's this guy called Prof. Prof is Jordan. Prof has analysis paralysis, definitely. Okay. Can overanalyze. But when he saw the bottle that shattered, he stopped those analyses straight off. He knew also that there's a sense of urgency. Okay. And then that was the no guy that was always saying no to everything. So that was an obstacle everyone needed to overcome somehow to move forward. But honestly, when they caught on the vision of change, I think No naturally just had to get off the scene because every reason he was given didn't make sense anymore. Because of course, everybody there was buy-in from the entire colony.
Yeah. What did they have to do, or what did they get to do after that?
All right.
Because it's all about solutions.
The
change coming up, and what's his name, Fred, bringing up. It's all about getting the solution. What was it all?
So immediately they knew there was urgency. Definitely, Louis decided to set up a 5-man team that would lead this change. And of course, it started from how do we communicate this to the people in the colony, letting them know that something is about to happen and this is what we're thinking. So the 5 people, Fred was in that team. Fred was just an ordinary penguin, like I said, and normally in the leadership hierarchy, he wouldn't have even been close to this at all.
But for bringing on such, for identifying that kind of problem itself.
Yeah, and at least you have to be on this team.
Exactly.
Then we had Professor, of course. Professor is an analytical person. Yeah. So he had the scientific thinking that was really useful in the colony. I even remember Louis telling Professor that, from henceforth, let us step up the game of our scientific discoveries around the colony. Because you see, the broken bottle is scientific. Now we know what is going on. Like, so if you can provide evidence through this method, the guy was going to say we should set up something, we're going to fund it. He was already thinking. All right. And of course, Alice naturally was a member, Louis. And then there's a guy called Buddy. Buddy was brought in. Now, Buddy is a guy that everybody loves in the colony. Oh my God, they even said he was very handsome anyway.
Okay.
But apart from that, he was someone that everybody trusted. He had goodwill.
Yeah.
He was someone that had integrity. So when it comes to persuading people within the colony, the penguins, I think Buddy did a good job. If he said, oh, we're working in your best interest, the penguins believed that indeed they were working in the best interest.
So they actually needed someone like that on the team.
So you see, the way the composition was quite the scientific one, this one. Yeah. So Louis had a great team.
Let me ask you this. Now will you only apply this to in a business setting, in an organization? Is there a way you can bring this to your personal life? Is there a way this can be applied to your personal life?
So in personal, I always say that one is not an island. So we exist because others do. So there are certain things, the personal decisions, one for me, for example, personal goals I've set for myself, and I had to identify key people that would enable me to reach my goals. Yeah. And I needed to pick them based on their character traits. Well, this guy will always be the one asking me, where are you on this thing? So I want someone like that would drive me and ask me, accountability partner. I need someone that maybe is analytical, so that when I come to analyzing my results, this person can be the one that will really help me. I just throw this to you and say, please, can you help me decode this? Why do you think I can send me a graph, in fact, or something? So even personally, we need people like that. Okay. Even our mentors, when we begin to pick mentors as well, we want to look at those kind of character traits. I'm sure that Louis, when he was setting up his team, saw all of that. We need someone that can convince people that we're working in their best interest. So, Buddy, come on. We need someone that can present scientific evidence. Okay, Prof, you need to be here so that when we provide scientific evidence beyond the initial call that was made to us subsequently, what's his name now? The Prof may be able to analyze where we are right now, and maybe when they keep doing presentation, guys, okay, this is where we are so far, and people want to see that as well. That, okay, we're making progress.
So how do we work this? And we have so many people having regular businesses, small business persons and all. I mean, this sounds a bit complicated, as in that you are looking for such people to fill in the gap. What do you do?
Oh dear. So, for small business.
Business consultant, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even in small business and whatever business we're talking about here, issues of this comes in very strongly when it comes to recruitment. Now, number one, you have a vision for your small business. Or wherever, you can even be a medium business. You have a vision for it. This is where we want it to be. So what kind of people do we need to recruit from the beginning? I think recently I posted something on my Facebook page about culture eating up strategy. Yes, it's on my Facebook. Yeah, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Culture eats
strategy. Yes, for breakfast. You know how it does that?
Oh, wow.
Because you can put your team together.
You?
Yes, I think it was also it might even be from John Kotter. Let me go and check it.
Okay, John Kotter, right.
But I just had that thinking one night, and I said, okay, I'm going to write something like this on Monday, on Business Monday. I do Business Monday. Okay. And I had that image. And what came to mind really is, as a small business or a medium business, whatever business it is, you can strategize in all sorts of ways to make things happen. But if the culture of the organization does not allow this strategy it's overbearing on the strategy. Okay. So if people in your organization are those that they come late, the culture is lateness, the culture is the lackadaisical behavior. No, excellence is not really something that drives you. People are mediocres all over the place. They submit things late. They don't write well. Then you are now defining strategies. If you don't correct the culture, my dear, this culture is going to destroy the strategy. Because the same people will act in the way they're acting on this side when they come onto this side of the divide. That's it.
That's very true.
Yeah, so that's why the culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so before you begin to devise excellent or novel strategies, correct the culture first. Okay. So that you already have people that their mindsets are already set to work, to make things work.
People that are especially willing to change.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, now the solution, the final solution, how did this colony, how did they get to solve this problem?
All right, so they've solved it in a way they never would have imagined, ever. So when we're thinking of the solutions, one of them said, you know what, let's not be hasty, because right now, what we're thinking about is the usual suspects. How do we save her? Somebody even said we should glue the iceberg together if it breaks. The usual suspects. Okay, let's just keep watching. The usual things that will come naturally. One of them said, you know what, let's give ourselves another day or two. Let's just walk around the colony. Let's just walk around. Something would inspire us to the solutions we might need. Yeah. And indeed, that's what happened. While they were just walking around, they saw a bird that flew over the colony. And then they were wondering what the bird is called, a seagull. And then when there was a seagull doing in this area, and he's flying across, and somehow they brokered a meeting with the seagull one day, and they invited him to the 5-man committee. And I said, it's unusual for us to see you around here. The temperature here is even too cold for you to stay and all that. So what are you doing here? And the guy said, well, seagulls are nomads, so we move from time to time. We are seasonal, nomads. We are seasonal, so maybe if it's winter, we move. If it's autumn, so they move like that. And so I am the one going out now to check where we can move to in the next season. And they're like, really? So you guys can be moving your entire, and I think it's a whole lot of seagulls really that move like that. It's like a herd of birds or something. Okay. And interestingly, when he finished, he was even freezing by the time he was done with his natural habitat at all. He had to fly and say, guys, see you later. And they thought about it. Move. What he said was they move from place to place. Could it be that moving out of here will solve our problem? But that was scary. That's to them, scary. Because they've been here for hundreds of years, probably.
This is what they're used to.
This is what they're used to. Our food comes from here, so it's the status quo. And there's a saying that says, "If it's not broken, why do you want to fix it?" Why do you want to fix it? So for them, it's like,
it's not broken. No?
It's not broken yet, though. It's not broken yet. Interestingly, Alice, my dear Alice, which I wish to meet her someday. She's my favorite. She's like, yes, if these guys can move and they can find a place for themselves, then it's possible as well. If we move, we can find a place. So they had to go back to their drawing board and put together a plan. How do we find the locations we can move to? Because that's another work. So they really sat down. Now they have an idea. How do we communicate again to the colony that we want to move and not get resistance from these guys? And indeed, when they said that, most of the birds were like, no way, how do we move? My great-great-grandmother, there was a lot of resistance. And they also noticed, they articulated the problems that may arise, and they tried to tackle it one after the other, really. I noticed that. And one of the things that was very interesting was they set up young men that would go out and be scouting for new places. Okay. And of course, the young men took it very seriously. The younger children decided to set up, what they call that, a hero's award. So if you come back, and you come back with something exciting, you get a badge, a medal. Okay. So they made it fun. So everybody wanted to bring back good news about something. The kids were active.
That's reward.
That's it. That was reward.
Exactly.
So one of the, I think there are steps in this anyway. Yeah. One is that you should create.
I think 8 steps.
Yeah, the 8 steps. Yes.
The 8 steps to lead change in your organization. Yes.
So he talked about creating quick wins, like short-term wins that can quickly be celebrated because it keeps the energy going. It keeps the energy going.
But this is quite an intriguing book, honestly. I mean, how someone, because if I saw a book on leadership that required me to read about change, it's not I'm not likely to want to pick that kind of book. It just has to come in this form, in the form of a fable, for me to want to read. I think that's quite intriguing about the author. You want to talk about the author? You know so much about it?
Well, I think the author, the bit I know about him is he lectures, he's a professor in Harvard. Okay. And I think he's done a lot in change management anyway. He's taught it, he's written books about it. And I think there's another book as well, Leading Change should be that book. That's another that was recommended from even the same reading I had. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll go grab it as well and look at it. Basically because communicating change sometimes can be very difficult to manage, for management really, especially when the change will be very drastic. You can imagine when a particular change needs to be done. Look at the banking industry. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Yeah.
Because they've been doing things the way it's been done in the past 20 years.
But then technology showed up. And they had to change the way they work. But it's difficult for the MDCO to come and communicate that in a general meeting to say, you know what, we're all moving, we're stepping up to 21st century technology, therefore half of you will be gone by tomorrow. It's a difficult place to be, that's the truth.
Very, very.
But you must be able to communicate the message in such a way that, yeah, they know they might lose their jobs, but they know it's in the best interest of the bank. So also communication, the messaging is very important. In this book, Alice was the one that always stepped forward to give that message.
But there's always that kind of person.
There should be that person that when it comes to this, and she's ready to take the fall, man. Like, yeah, I'll do this, and I'm ready to take your questions. We need people like that.
Interesting. Now, is there any other interesting thing in this book you think you should share with us? Any other thing we've not touched yet?
I think for me, the part that I love the best or the most was the seagull part. I really loved that part so much. Okay. Yeah, because
it was very funny.
I tell you, and it's so easy to get stuck in our old ways.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would tell, okay, you have people that come. I do counseling anyway. Sometimes I just give whoever is my counselee an assignment. Go for this 1 or 2 weeks. Just free yourself. Because you see what? Put this thing in your front. Each time go out, come back, look at it. You'll be shocked that something new would have come into your mind. Something new would have caught your attention somewhere. Until you get a perfect, you are perfecting that thing. It may take you another 2 weeks. It may take you another 1 month. But when you are done, you know that you have explored all the necessary things. I notice that sometimes we're also in a hurry. We want it now, that we don't give that thinking period to certain things. And when it comes to change management as well, that thinking period needs to come in. Let all the inputs, let it all have come in. Let us be sure that, okay, we have this. Not that immediately, hey, sometimes panic.
Yeah.
Let's just jump. Even another interesting thing was about Alice too.
Okay.
Because they mentioned that there was a time, I think somebody mentioned one very silly thing in the past in the colony. And they were saying, thank God Alice was not there, because if she was, she would have run with that thing as well. And they would have ended in disaster.
But to a very large extent, she was portrayed as someone that brought in a lot of positivism.
Oh, yes.
So,
but
that could be...
the book will make you laugh. Let me know. You will laugh. There's some comments, even when Fred was talking to Alice about the Iceberg, they showed Alice thinking. Alice was like, I hope this guy is okay. I hope something is not wrong with him. Like, how could you be so intensely studying an iceberg when all of us are socializing, for crying out loud? So it's like thinking in your mind, I hope all is well with this Fred. And that will make you laugh, really, that when you're talking to someone about something that critical, their mindset or their thinking may be totally off what you're even thinking. And the same with, even with the no-nos, there were some, they're thinking, they will reflect it in the cartoon. I think I really like that.
Was this book particularly interesting because of the kind of person you are?
Yes. And Alice, you see where I'm endowed to Alice. I love her. She's the go-getter. I love people like that.
Okay. Why?
But I know change is not that easy. It's not that
So you recommend this book to everybody or just some people?
To everybody.
To everybody? You think it would be relevant?
Oh, yes.
It would be relevant. So what will you rate this book on a scale of 1 to 10?
My dear, for me, I'll give it a 10.
A 10?
I tell you.
It's your favorite book then?
I'll give it a 10.
Are you serious?
Like a 10.
Wow.
I could even write a book out of that book again.
Oh, are you serious?
For all the lessons.
Wow.
Different.
So there's nothing you do not, there's nothing you disagree
with? It was number one, it made it like very experiential. So even as you're going through it yourself,
you can see sense in it.
Yeah, you can see a lot of sense in it. Wow. And even sometimes you can flash back to the days you've done things that were similar to what they did as well.
Okay.
And I think the good part was that communication too. These are some of the things that organizations have failed to do. They don't communicate because they don't want to be seen as being failures. Like, we drove this company to this point and you want us to go and meet the staff and tell them. And then they say, let's just announce tomorrow that we are downsizing. And staff don't know why you're downsizing and no solutions to their problems. So I've seen this happen in so many organizations and people live in very bad taste. They leave everybody with a bad taste and it's not even for their good in any way, really. So I think communicating change, especially when it's going to be a bit negative, it's a pain. It's a pain.
It's huge.
But we need to if we have to.
Thank you very much, the distinguished Toastmaster Titi Ojo. I'm so happy that you were able to come here. Like I said, I know you're a very, very busy person, but you still took out time to be here.
I'm grateful.
Truly appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've been reviewing yet another interesting book. Our Iceberg is Melting, written by John Kotter, on exactly how to communicate change, how to lead change in your life and in your organization. Now, if you find this video interesting, please like, comment, and share with your friends. If you're new on this space, please hit the subscribe button and begin to follow us. Now, this is PERICLEZ, your favorite personal development and self-help platform. Here, we get to talk about books and all of the lovely things, the wonderful things we can derive from them to help us become the very best version of ourselves. My name is Inyang, and I'm the host on this show. Thank you very much.